Hi everyone, this is an Amalgia video for Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition. This is going to be a guide for Cycle 1 of River Belle Path and its giant crab boss. If you don't know about cycles yet, don't worry too much about it. Just know that every time you beat a dungeon in solo play or as a host in online play, you get a drop of myrrh. After a tree in a specific dungeon gives you a drop of myrrh, it won't produce myrrh again for another 2 years. Once the tree replenishes itself and you can get myrrh again, the dungeon will increase in difficulty and sometimes change layout and monsters. But with higher difficulty, there's a chance of getting even better rewards than you could in the first cycle. River Belle Path doesn't have to be the first dungeon you do, but generally speaking, it's the first dungeon that most players complete, and it's probably the easiest of the starting dungeons. When you're new to the game and you don't know what to expect, the thought of interacting with other people online can be a little intimidating. Let's get into the guide so I can arm you with enough information so you can make giant crabs explode. This level has a few barriers that block the way, but there's only a few of them that you actually need to open in order to get to the boss. In this level, the gate keys are dropped by enemies that are located near the gates. When you enter the dungeon, you can set up your command list. If you're just starting out, the only items you really have access to are Phoenix Downs and some other healing items that will heal your HP in differing quantities depending on what tribe your character is from. You may want to equip the Phoenix Down just in case until you get your hands on some Magicite, or you can just forego it and save it for the boss. Magicite come in different colors and types, and picking them up and equipping them is how you cast spells for the most part. In solo offline play, you also don't have to carry the chalice all the time. You can drop it and press triangle to have your Moogle carry it for you, but he does get tired on occasion. Goblin enemies have slow strikes, and they can pick up stones to throw for a ranged attack. A general strategy that works on a lot of enemies in the game is to run up to them, goad an attack, run away so that they miss, and then run up to them and hit them until they die. Also, it is possible to sneak up on many enemies, and so if you can, use that to your advantage to get in a free hit before you start the fight. Also, if you're ever in a fight and there are too many enemies and you're being overwhelmed, you can actually run away and then the enemies fighting you will de-aggro and go back to where they were standing originally. At the start of the game, you can do 3 physical attacks in a row if you have the correct timing with your weapon. It requires a slight delay, and button mashing is not going to get you any extra strikes out of your attacks. If you find a Cure Magicite, make sure to equip it, as it'll be very helpful in keeping you alive. It will be more important than having a Phoenix Down equipped, and that way you can save the Phoenix Down for the boss. Even if you don't have Cure, you can use your healing items, and your character will naturally regenerate a half heart of health every 30 seconds or so. If you chose the Uke tribe at the start of the game, another thing you can do to keep yourself alive in risky situations is to hit the defend command because you're invincible while you're doing it. This level doesn't have any enemies that need complicated fusion spells, but if you end up having 2 fire, 2 blizzard, or 2 thunder magicite, you can put them both in your command list and then fuse them together in order to be able to cast Fyra, Blizzara, and Thundara respectively. If your character is standing still, you can see at the top of the screen what your bonus point objective is for the dungeon. There'll be things like kill enemies with focus attacks, deal damage, pick up items, don't pick up items, and so on and so on. Unless your bonus point objective is conflicting with killing enemies and picking up items, doing those 2 things usually net you even more bonus points, so scouring a level to find every item and every enemy is worth it if you're trying to get the rarest artifacts that the level has to offer. It's helpful to pay attention to the mini-map in the upper right-hand corner. In River Belle Path, the left side is blocked when you start, and you have to open that gate in the center in order to progress further in the level, and you'll find another gate. Killing the goblin will give you a key so that you can get access to the northern part of the level. Locked gates show up as brown squares on the mini-map. Red squares mean that that's where the boss is, and treasure chests appear as yellow squares on the mini-map. The far east side of the map doesn't lead to the boss, but if you head south from that second gate in the center and run along a beach area, you can get over there to get access to some treasure chests and a hidden Moogle den that you can get a Moogle stamp from. You don't really have to bother with these switches as they serve really no purpose other than to get back to the start of the dungeon if you wanted to leave instead of completing it, but if you're playing solo, keep in mind that you can beat switch traps by putting the chalice on one and then standing on the other switch in order to open. Up here are some enemies and a treasure chest. There's another treasure chest on the eastern side of the map, but you have to get to it by going through the center and then going northeast. You can't access it from this point. Up here on the secluded east side path is where the Moogle Den is. It's very hard to see, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you may not be able to find it. It's this rock, and you have to push circle on it in order for it to turn around and reveal itself. I'm not going to show the whole inside, but just know that you have to talk to a Moogle in there who will place a stamp on your card. The Moogle Den is a little bit out of the way, but the good news is that you only have to do it once for the entire caravan. Once you have the Moogle stamp, head back the way you came and move toward the center of the map to that second gate that we opened. The squirrel enemies are called moos, and they're not too difficult, but they will run up to you, attack, and then immediately run away, pause a moment before running back at you to attack again. The boss has some of them as ads, so knowing how to deal with their movement patterns is helpful for being able to win the final fight. Once you get past these moos in the center lane, head northeast in order to find some more enemies and some more treasure boxes. At this point you've already fought one, but the big goblins are just bigger versions of the small goblins. They hit harder and they have a lot more HP. Grab that treasure chest and just know that there's another treasure chest northeast of here around this bend to the south. Once you have the treasure, head back southwest toward the center of the map where we fought those moos, and there was a broken bridge to the left. Although the bridge is broken, you can still run across its broken beams in order to make your way to the boss and another treasure chest. After you grab the treasure, head south and follow that path as it swings around west and winds back north. There's also an enemy southwest here that drops a key to this gate, but other than bonus points, he really doesn't serve a purpose because opening this gate just leads back to the beginning and there's no special treasure that you haven't already gotten at this point. In this northwestern area, there is a moo and a goblin. It may be better to take out the moo first so that you can be free to move around and be able to fight the goblin without being interrupted. In this dungeon, I'm using focus attacks a lot because it's my bonus point objective, I believe, but if you're a Uke, this is normally not a good idea to try, and you should just stick to magic because that's your skill set. Remember to always pick up these artifacts that drop, because once you beat the dungeon, you'll be able to pick one that increases your stats permanently for the rest of the game. Heading east of here just leads back to that broken bridge, but since it's broken, there's nothing that it's connected to up top, and you have to head north to make your way toward the boss. There are 3 enemies up here. There's a hedgehog pie, a big goblin, and a small goblin. You should probably take out the hedgehog pie or the little goblin first. Hedgehog pies don't have much HP, but they like to spam fire magic, and when they jump in the air while they cast, they actually dodge a little bit, so it can be hard to hit them sometimes. When the group is defeated, the last treasure chest in the dungeon is to the northwest. Cross this bridge and you are almost at the boss. He's actually down that little rock path to the left. But if you go to the right, there's a house with Moogles in it, and they don't really serve any purpose in Cycle 1, but you may want to talk to him just in case. Once you're done, head back left and go up that rock path in order to fight the boss. Cycle 1 will have 1 squirrel enemy that spawns at a time every minute or so, and it's best to take care of him so that he doesn't get in your way while you're trying to dodge the big boss's attacks. That giant electric attack is one of the special attacks that the big crab boss has, while its giant claw covering its head is still intact. Get too close in front of it, it can also use its big claw to do a big circle AoE attack on the ground in front of it that does physical damage. It uses its front claw for quick swipes, so a lot of the time it's better to try to attack from a distance where possible. The crab boss is immune to thunder, but it's weak to ice and it takes normal damage from fire. Focus attacks work well as well. The pink bubbles it fires will inflict slow on you, but they won't deal any damage. The problem is that once you have slow, it can make it a little bit harder to dodge some of the crab's electric attacks, especially later in the fight. Slow not only decreases your movement speed, but it increases the amount of time it takes to execute your charge attacks and magic. The pink orbs aren't hard to dodge if you're able to keep a distance, and they're homing for maybe about 3 or 4 seconds, but as long as you run around them, they'll eventually stop and just head on straight until they explode. In addition to his big claw attack, he also has a jumping attack where he slams down, but it doesn't really seem to be targeted. It more seems to be like he just picks a spot at random somewhere near you and hopes that it lands. At around 30% of its health, the big crab boss loses its giant claw and its small claw, so it can no longer attack in front of itself with the big AoE and the quick swipes. In this form, it still has the jumping slam attack, but the problem is that it casts Thundara. Thundara not only has a bigger blast radius than the circle makes it seem, but it also can stun you, and if it stuns you and then follows up with another Thundara, there's a chance that you could die, especially if you accidentally get hit with one of the pink orbs that inflicts slow. If you're fighting this boss with a group online, remember to keep an eye on your allies' health. You can cast cure spells on them to heal them up, and if they die, you can cast life spells on them or use a Phoenix Down in order to revive them. If you or your allies are inflicted with slow, a clear magicite can clear that up when you cast the spell, but I don't normally see clear magicites in Cycle 1 in River Belle Path. Remember that after the boss is defeated, you get to pick an artifact. If you're just starting out, I suggest taking the Moogle Pocket, as it'll give you another command slot to equip things from your inventory in. Hopefully this will be everything you need to be able to feel comfortable playing with people online and beating River Belle Path Cycle 1. As always, thanks for watching, and if you found anything useful, please subscribe. It really helps us out. See you next time.